Hello everybody, my name is Poison Ducky, and today we're having another Total War Warhammer 2 replay. I'm going to play a faction that you guys probably haven't seen me play, at least very often. It's the Dark Elves. If I had to choose any elven faction to play, it'd definitely be the Dark Elves. They're just edgier. The other elves are just not as cool as the Dark Elves. Gotta have the edgy elves, of course. And here, let me introduce my army. Now, I am going up against the armies of chaos, which will explain my army composition because it wouldn't make sense otherwise. I'm going to have 4 units of Harganeth executioners as my front line. Now, these are armor piercing. They're anti-infantry units. What do chaos have very good units of? They have very good infantry and they have very good monsters. All right, so 4 units as my front line of Harganeth executioners. A pretty good counterpick to the Chaos Infantry. Now, in the backline, I'm going to have 3 units of just Dread Spears, just little chaff, hold back the enemy units. That's the whole purpose in life. Make sure that I just don't get overwhelmed by monsters, just in case he goes Monster Mash. And I'm going to have the Regiment of Renown, the Hellebroni, the poisonous. I like how most Regiment of Renown spearmen and a lot of faction have poisonous spearmen, like King Nikesh's, the Slayers of Drakewald, like so many poisonous spear units, and the Dark Elves are no different. Because it works. It's a good combination, lowering down their attack rates and weapon damage against the unit that's such high melee defenses. It's a good combination. I'm going to have 2 units of Dark Shards with no shields because Chaos doesn't have very good projectiles or ranged games, so shields are unnecessary and it saves me a little bit of money. And the huge monster of my force is going to be the Mighty Chill of Sontar, the War Hydra. I love this thing. It's fantastic. It's just armor piercing. It's just a big monster. I just like monsters. They're fun. The ability, it's a land dragon. The only difference is that when you have a dragon, you generally have to have like Lore of Life or some sort of rejuvenation / like healing for a dragon to get its full value. But the War Hydras have healing slapped right onto them, so they lose their flying and they get the ability to heal themselves, which is quite nice. And it's like Hydras are just cool either way. I am going to have 1 unit of Dark Riders with Peter crossbows. I'll just try to screen them out, make sure if he went like with Kolek or something like that, this unit would be fantastic at just shooting at Kolek for the entire match. Very good unit for that. And my leader, I'm going to have the mighty Lokir Felheart. Now, he is an interesting pick. As many of you know, Footlords are not a very powerful pick, especially Footlords that have no magic. But Lokir Felheart has regeneration when he's in combat, and he's a anti-infantry duelist, fantastic against other Footlords. And I was either expecting Archaon, Sigvald the Magnificent, or Kolek, essentially, and this is a really good pick against Sigvald or Archaon if they're on foot. Now, my lore is going to be Sorceress of Death with only Spirit Leech, because Spirit Leech is the best spell in the game, and it's probably one of the most cost-efficient spells. They've nerfed this spell so many times, and it's so amazing. Now, on the opposing enemy's side, we're going to have 3 units of Chaos Warriors, a very powerful unit. Unfortunately, they die to Harganeth Executioners. But Chaos Warriors are always good, and one of them being the Mirror Guard, which is, you've heard me sing my praises about this if you've seen my previous videos. Fantastic unit, great stats, and it's fast for having 100 armor, 38 speed. He's going to bring the Demon Spew, blessed by Nurgle himself. They're going to be poisonous and reduce the melee attack of units nearby. Very powerful, very high weapon strength, 64. Fantastic. And it seems to be a Regiment of Renown party for the Chaos, as they bring the Summoners of Rage. Anti-large units, high mass, very powerful, just great units overall. The one odd pick is going to be the Demon Spew. Not the Demon Spew, the Weird Spawn. These are like armor sundering, and they're weird, very odd Chaos Spawn. Like, Chaos Spawn are good because they're unbreakable, but they just lack in too much. They have no armor, and they have huge models, and they're so easily shut down by projectiles or even just basic spears. So, like, it's interesting pick. Funnily enough, the Weird Spawn are fantastic against the Harganeth Executioners that I bring. So, yeah, you never know. That could have been a counter pick that was intended. Now, in both of the flanks, he's going to have 2 units of Marauder Horsemen, and he's going to have 2 units of Chaos Warhounds. And, of course, on the other flank, he has the other 2 Chaos Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes. So they do have armor-piercing throwing axes. His general that is going to be leading them today is going to be the sideways walking Prince Sigvald the Magnificent. Now he's just moonwalking his way onto the battlefield. Fantastic. He regenerates health. He's my Chaos Lord of choice, to be completely honest, and I really like him. He has his mighty rapier, mighty shield. So cheap yet very effective. His casters is going to be a Lore of Shadows with Enfeebling Foe, the Withering, the usual. All right, with the armies shown, let's get into the battle. At first, I am going to be moving my armies over here, as you can see my positioning, so I make sure my Dark Shards can get a fire onto the enemies, because this mountain is a pretty big obstruction. While it does cover a flank in some ways, I need to make sure my Dark Shards have a line of sight into the enemy large units. Dark Elves. Not usually a fan of elves in general, but the Dark Elves are just special. They have monsters. I don't like dragons that much as a unit. While they are very effective, I think Hydras are just cooler. Then again, they're just multi-headed dragons without wings, so what am I to say? Making sure I move my Dark Riders out of range of these hounds, or I don't want to get shot by the throwing axes, as the throwing axes, he has so much more ranged firepower against 1 skirmish cab. He has 4, so I have to be careful about that. And here comes the main infantry engagement. It's going to start out with the Harganeth versus the Chaos Knights. Who will win? Well, it's a little obvious considering one unit almost straight up counters the other. Now let's go. He is going to use his magic to support, and here comes the mighty charge. He is also going to use the Demon Spew to reduce the combat effectiveness by poisoning them, and Sigvald himself is going to join the battlefield. Now over here on the side, the Demon Spew are going to come, and what my play here is this Demon Spew. Oh no, that's actually quite dangerous for Harganeth. I pull them back. They will get hit in the backside a little, take some HP damage, but then I send my Hellbrunei forward. The Spearman unit with poison damage, very effective against the Weird Spawn. Almost like a counter, almost a hard counter, if you think about it. Spearman units that have poison reduce the massive weapon strength that they have, and Weird Spawn don't have armor. So they will do very well, and the mighty Hydra makes his way into the battlefield, destroying the infantry that he sees. A little clumpy here. My Harganeth Executioners on the left side doing well against their low armor piercing, while Harganeth have armor piercing, and they're just fantastic great units overall. It's like having a bunch of great swords from the Empire, or Swordmasters of Hoth, but they're just edgier. That's what I like about the Dark Elves. Oh, mighty Prince Sigvald himself. And I sent Lokir Felheart to fight Sigvald too. The problem about both of these lords, both of them do not have armor piercing, interestingly enough. And Sigvald actually is stronger in terms of weapon strength with 520 versus my 450. But the buffs of Lokir Felheart, not only does he increase melee attack and melee defense, like 102 melee attack and 91 melee defense, he's not getting hit anytime soon. And the other deadly onslaught increasing his armor piercing damage. Sigvald is actually routing. Look at his health. It's at like 15% already. Only and Lokir Felheart being the better duelist of the two. And by a large margin. And of course my opponent is going to be sending in the Summoners of Rage to try to cover for the routing of Sigvald the Magnificent. And I get a nice little breath attack from my War Hydra into the Summoners of Rage. And now I don't want my War Hydra to actually fight the Summoners of Rage. That's why I keep them at using a breath attack, as they will destroy my War Hydra. They're almost built to destroy the War Hydra. Now the War Hydra is taking a lot of damage from the axes coming from the Marauder Horsemen, but it's acceptable. And unfortunately my back line is compromised by all the hounds. The hounds and the Marauder Horsemen are very proficient at hounding me in catching my backline, as I didn't bring enough infantry to really protect them, and I was spending my spearmen to take out the Summoner's Rage and the Weird Spawn, as they've both been eliminated at this point. And here comes the Hounds, unfortunately. Oh god. The Helibroni will be routing off the battlefield, unfortunately, as they only have 16 models left, but they did well. They took out the Chaos Spawn, and they dealt a lot of damage to the Summoners of Rage. Of course, my Hound doing... not my Hound. My Lizard Hound, my War Hydra doing well, but the spells, the Enfeebling Foe, reducing that melee attack and melee defense is going to be quite effective. Lord of Shadow is doing very well in this match, and Prince Seawald makes it back and he regenerates health, but Lokir Felheart will change this very quickly. Stand or die. Melee defense increased to 87 Prince Seawald, but I have 91 melee attack using my dreaded duelist ability. I'm just going to bob and weave. Lokir himself is going to be chasing Seawald off the battlefield. Now over here, it's the pit fight it's become a pit fight, even a bigger one, with my Harganeth Executioners just surrounding the Chaos Warriors and trying to get the most damage possible against the Mirror Guard. Over here you see them fighting Mirror Guard versus Harganeth. Harganeth, pretty decent stats. The Mirror Guard can match them as well. Battle. I'm actually losing in terms of the infantry right now. They just had way too many numbers, and the constant pecking of the axes from the Marauder Horsemen are wearing down my forces quite heavily. And at this point, I've used so many Spirit Leeches on the opponent. And I believe Prince Seawald is out. He is leaving this battlefield. He might rally back in just a second. 6, 10, 14. He rallies back, but don't be worried. He will shatter soon. Making sure I'm getting my War Hydra's value here, doing so much damage. It's such a fantastic game. And this unit also has Frostbite, decreasing the speed of the enemy units it hits, so quite effective at chasing enemies. As you see, that green mist is a proc from the War Hydra to heal more health and proc more regeneration. Now, taking so many throwing axes. I'm going to use a breath attack here. And look at that HP damage. That almost destroys one unit and does so much damage to one, crippling this side of Horsemen, but the other side of Horsemen are just releasing a volley on my mighty Hydra. My Harganeth Executioners are nowhere to be found, and my Sorceress just rallies back with such little health. Now Lokir, all the way at the flanks, finally shatters Prince Seawald with a unit, a Spearman, and he will be heading back into battle. Notice that Lokir Felheart here is not near. You can't even. His healing cap is not even visible yet. So he's going to be a tough cookie to crack, especially considering he has so much weapon damage, so much. 65 melee attack and 55 melee defense on base. That's not including the buffs. The balance of power says it's on my side, but my opponent outnumbers me actually very heavily. 226 compared to 132. So it's twice. Not only that, he has the mobility advantage, and unfortunately, this is very unfortunate, might I say, the War Hydra gets routed off the battlefield. Even though the leadership of this thing is in the positive 8, 11, because he routed he was surrounded by infantry, and with projectiles being thrown at him, his leadership dunked for just a little bit, allowing him to rout, and the Warhounds will escort him off the battlefield. Very unfortunate pick that I couldn't do too much about, unfortunately. I said unfortunately so many times there, but it's fine, because it is. Now, Lokir is essentially the only main hitting force left in my army, but he is a very powerful one, and he's going to take down anyone that essentially, if someone actually dares run at him, he will take you down. My spearmen are just jokes at this point. Let's speed it up just a bit. As no one's going to engage Lokir in like their right mind without taking out every single other asset I have available. Now, this is just going to be a dance. The only infantry he has left is the Mirror Guard versus the 3 units of horsemen, all with very little ammo. I believe there's like 1 or 2 volleys left on 2 of those units, and he's trying to get charges in, can't quite make it. The Mirror Guard are just running around, trying to find opportunities to make it into my unit. He throws his last volley of axes into my spearmen, which is not very effective as they have shields, but it's just a standoff. His one unit of hounds. Oh, and this is when he makes contact. The spearmen rout instantly at this point, but it's Lokir Felheart. He, by himself, not only is he regenerating as he fights, look at all these buffs. And look at his combat stats. It's just fantastic. Him and a giant horde of enemy chaos, and he just can do whatever he wants. Every swing kills about 3 to 4 models. Fortunately, it's going to be more and more dancing, as no, he is not the fastest. He's only 40 speed, and the Mirror Guard have 38 speed. Strange. It's like a Lokir would eventually catch up, but it just takes too long. And here comes the second engagement. They knock him over. And the Chaos Warhounds get in there, but look at this. That's one swing. That's about 3 models. Oh, there goes 3. Oh, there goes about... Oh, they only... Yeah, the melee defense actually protected them there. And there goes 3 models. And there goes some Mirror Guard. Oh, what is left of them? Now my opponent is just going to be cycle charging over and over again, as that is his best option to try to get into Lokir Felheart. And Lokir is actually my last unit left on the battlefield, but because of his regeneration, high health, and high leadership, along with amazing combat stats, nothing can quite touch him. He would need like some Chosen. He would need Siegwald to get into here. He would need, or like some sort of Dragon Ogre to defeat Lokir, as he doesn't have enough armor piercing to get through it. He's going to do another surround. Well, it only goes to Lokir's advantage at this point. Killing 2 to 3 models in every swipe. The MVP of my team, for sure. My opponent does apply poison from the Warhounds, which are actually quite a nice debuff, making Lokir much weaker in combat. Hey, that swing didn't even kill him. Unfortunately, due to army losses, the Chaos Army will have to rout, and Lokir alone stands the victor. Now overseas, we can see we have the 4 Executioners did quite well, 57, 61, 32, and 27 kills, and I did outnumber my opponent. Spears did their job, especially against the Weird Spawn and the Dragon Ogres, making them leave the battle relatively quickly. Lokir being the MVP of my army, taking out essentially... Not only does he take out Prince Siegwald, he's the last stand and just wins the match for me. I really do enjoy Footlords in this game. Like, while they are not the most effective, they definitely have a place, and they're just very fun to use. And the Chill of Suntar getting 87 kills, such a fantastic pick. Overall, very good match, and unfortunately the Dark Riders and the Dark Sharks just get compromised by the Chaos Warhounds. Bad macro and by me, depending, because I just didn't protect them well enough. I needed more units. I should have traded these in for like some Bleak Swords or something else, because ranged units were just not working in this fight. But overall, very good match. GG, Mr. Strategist Warrior, and thanks for watching, guys. If you liked it, leave a like, and if you subscribe if you want more. I'll catch you guys later.